Paths of Glory was not just an anti-war film, it was a cinematic rebellion carved into celluloid. It was not a standard studio project, it was a battlefront disguised as a film set. Production tension erupts early, actors clash with authority. A French general threatens to sue the studio. Extras mutter about quitting. Kubrick's crew scrambles to reset brutal trench sequences after mud floods wipe out shots. So today we uncover 20 weird facts about Paths of Glory. Fact number 20. The opening shot nearly collapses the whole production. Kubrick opens Paths of Glory with a slow, commanding march of French troops. It looks steady and controlled, but behind the camera nothing is steady, nothing is controlled. The extras refuse to move in rhythm. The marching band blasts too loud and drowns out direction. The camera dolly jams in the mud, and crew members panic as the dailies reveal smeared images that look unusable. It is not a simple parade shot. It is chaos pretending to be order. Kubrick refuses to compromise or shorten the sequence. He resets again and again until exhaustion breaks the extras' resolve. What audiences never see is the physical collapse crew members face as they fight mud-deep fatigue and technical breakdowns. The final shot becomes iconic because the production barely survives it. Fact number 19. Kirk Douglas takes the role only after a brutal power move. Kirk Douglas does not glide into the role of Colonel Dax. He storms into it. United Artists wants a safer star and tries to discourage him with a low offer. Douglas slams the script onto the desk and says directly to Kubrick, "I will do it because this picture will be important." It is not a polite agreement. It is a power move that intimidates executives. Douglas then demands full clarity on the ending because he fears the studio will soften the message. He is right. They try, he refuses. He becomes the one unstoppable shield protecting the film's integrity. Without this force, the film risks a watered-down finish. His conviction shapes the film more than any performance note. Fact number 18. Kubrick uses cruel psychology to get performance truth. Kubrick does not want actors to pretend they are terrified. He wants them to actually feel unnerved. During the firing squad rehearsal, he keeps the actors exposed under freezing night air until their breath turns ragged. He resets the walk again and again while holding long silences. The silence becomes a weapon that scrapes their nerves raw. It is not acting anymore. It is survival instinct leaking into performance. What audiences do not see is how crew members watch with unease as Kubrick pushes deeper into emotional brutality. But the results are undeniable. The trembling and tension on screen are not rehearsed gestures. They are real psychological strain captured in stark black and white reality. Fact number 17. The trenches are so real, actors get injured daily. Kubrick builds the trenches with the obsessive detail using mud water and jagged wooden frames that scrape skin. The set smells of damp earth and sweat even before filming begins. It is not a controlled stage environment. It is a hazardous maze. Extras slip on the soaked ground. Grip crew lose boots in knee-deep muck. Douglas bruises his ribs after slamming into the trench wall during a complex tracking shot. Kubrick insists on long takes that require the camera to glide through narrow paths, which means actors must dive aside at the last second or risk collision. The production medic treats twisted ankles and deep scrapes every single day. The realism is unforgettable on film because it costs real physical pain during creation. Fact number 16. The French government explodes in fury before the film even releases. The French army's misconduct in the film enrages officials the moment plot details leak. It is not a quiet disagreement. It is an eruption. High-ranking military figures accuse the production of defamation. Diplomats pressure Kubrick to soften scenes depicting cowardice, corruption, and cruelty. One general threatens legal action if the film shows firing squads. Another warns that releasing the movie in France will spark protests. Studio executives panic. Kubrick refuses to change the narrative. The backlash grows so intense, the French government effectively blocks theatrical release for years. What audiences do not know is how close the film comes to being banned worldwide due to international diplomatic pressure. The controversy becomes a shadow that follows Paths of Glory for decades. Fact number 15. The execution scene breaks the cast emotionally. The execution sequence looks cold and ceremonial on screen, but behind the camera it crushes the cast emotionally. Kubrick forces the actors to stand tied to posts under harsh morning light for long stretches while he tests angles and lens distances. The crew stops speaking in between takes because the mood grows unbearably heavy. One actor later admits he nearly walks off set after watching an extra collapse from shock during a reset. It is not performance anymore, it becomes a ritual of exhaustion, fear, and silence. Kubrick wants the execution to feel merciless and mechanical, so he strips the set of music, chatter, or comfort. By the time he calls the final cut, some actors are crying out of real emotional depletion, not scripted fear. The power of the scene flows directly from that raw human strain. Fact number 14. Kubrick refuses to shoot a scene the studio demands. Studio executives demand a heroic speech to soften the bleakness of the story. They want Douglas to deliver a last-minute spark of patriotism to reassure audiences. Kubrick refuses instantly. It is not a negotiation. It is a rejection so firm that the executives consider threatening to replace him. Douglas sides with Kubrick and tells the studio that watering down the message will destroy the entire film. The tension builds as the studio sends new script pages, hoping Kubrick will cave. He will not. The pages sit unread at his desk while he continues filming according to his vision. This standoff protects the film's integrity and keeps Paths of Glory brutally honest. Without that fight, the ending would be a hollow patriotic gesture instead of the moral gut punch audiences remember. Fact number 13. Soldiers in the trenches are not actors at first. Kubrick wants absolute authenticity, so he invites local German men, including laborers and off-duty soldiers, to fill the trenches during early tests. These men are not trained performers. They stand in formation with unfiltered reactions and genuine discomfort. It is not polished acting, it is raw human presence. Kubrick studies how they move, how they hold rifles, and how their eyes register exhaustion. He then instructs his actors to mimic this behavior, exactly creating a performance style that feels frighteningly real. When the actual extras take over, many struggle to recreate the brutal realism shown in the test footage. Kubrick uses this contrast to push the cast harder, demanding deeper truth in every take. What audiences do not know is that the film's visual authenticity begins with non-actors exposing real trench fatigue. Fact number 12. The courtroom scene creates a silent mutiny on set. The courtroom scene appears orderly, but filming it sparks a quiet mutiny among background actors. They must sit for hours under sweltering lights while Kubrick performs dozens of takes from multiple angles. The oxygen in the room grows heavy, the air turns stifling and tempers rise. Extras complain that the heat makes them dizzy. A few threaten to walk out. Kubrick refuses to rush. He adjusts every gesture, every stare, every pause in the dialogue until the tension inside the room becomes unbearable. And that is exactly the point. He captures real discomfort that strengthens the scene's suffocating moral pressure. The mutiny eventually calms, but not because frustrations fade. It ends because Kubrick gets the shot he wants and releases everyone only after the authentic tension has seeped into film history. Fact number 11, mid-roll engagement. Hook and a secret about the firing squad. Before we continue, go ahead and like and subscribe because what comes next reveals the darkest behind-the-scenes stories Kubrick ever allowed on a film set. During the firing squad sequence, Kubrick insists on capturing every flinch and every eye movement, but what audiences never know is that he keeps the actors in real restraints for long periods of time. One performer later admits that the tight bindings cut into his wrists so sharply that he bled through the cloth. Kubrick does not tell the crew to loosen the restraints because he wants the physical strain to appear naturally on camera. It is not cruelty for spectacle. It is Kubrick's pursuit of truth through discomfort. In the finished film, the trembling you see is not acting. It is the body fighting real pressure. Fact number 10. The battle scene only works after a disaster destroys the first version. Kubrick films the massive battlefield sequence with hundreds of extras explosions and a long tracking shot that he expects will define the film, but the first version fails completely. The smoke drifts wrong, the explosions fire late, the extras scatter instead of advancing, the dailies look like chaos without meaning. Kubrick is furious. He orders the entire battlefield reset overnight. Crew members work through freezing darkness to shovel mud, refill craters, and rebuild ruined props. It is not a simple reset. It is a full reconstruction under brutal conditions. The next morning, Kubrick shoots the sequence again with sharper timing, heavier explosions, and stricter marching patterns. This second attempt becomes the version audiences praise. What they never see is the wreckage of the first disastrous attempt hiding behind the film's precision. Fact number 9. Kubrick uses a radical camera move that no studio wants. The long, sweeping tracking shot through the trenches is legendary today, but during production, executives hate it. They argue it is too risky, too expensive, and too slow. Kubrick ignores them. He lays down a long rail through cramped, muddy trenches and demands total silence as the camera glides past actors who must hit exact marks while dodging debris. Crew members call it the death track because one slip could derail the dolly and injure everyone nearby. Kubrick rehearses the movement dozens of times, pushing for absolute smoothness. When he finally captures the shot, the result is electric. It immerses viewers directly into the trench nightmare. Not one executive apologizes, but they all immediately recognize that the risk creates a shot that feels like a continuous march into despair and danger. Fact number 8. An extra loses control during a stressful scene. During one of the early trench bombardments, an extra reaches his breaking point. The explosions are loud, the ground shakes, and the smoke blinds him. He forgets the choreography and starts running in the wrong direction. Kubrick yells for a cut, but the extra keeps moving until 2 crew members stop him. It is not panic acting. It is real disorientation. The man later explains that the roar of artillery made him believe the set had collapsed. Kubrick uses the moment as proof that the production atmosphere is tapping into something raw and unsettling. He tightens safety measures, but also tells his assistant to note how real fear shapes movement. That information helps refine later scenes. What audiences see is carefully crafted chaos, but the truth is that emotional overload sparks a genuine loss of control. Fact number 7. Kirk Douglas demands a crucial scene be reshot. Douglas is not just the star. He becomes a force shaping the film's tone. During a key confrontation scene, he watches playback and tells Kubrick it feels too restrained. He believes the moment needs more defiance, more moral fury. Kubrick resists at first. Douglas insists. The two men argue, but the disagreement is built on artistic passion, not ego. Douglas then delivers a scorching take, filled with raw energy and controlled rage. Kubrick studies the new footage and agrees it is the stronger version. This reshoot changes the emotional trajectory of the character and gives the film one of its most memorable moments. Not many actors have the conviction to challenge Kubrick successfully. Douglas becomes one of the very few who can match his intensity and elevate the picture. Fact number 6. The final song is only recorded after an unexpected casting twist. The haunting final scene featuring a captured German girl singing is one of the most emotional endings in cinema, but the role nearly goes to another performer. Kubrick auditions several women, but none deliver the vocal tone he wants. Then one of the cast members introduces him to a young actress named Christiane. She is not part of the production at first. Kubrick asks her to sing a folk tune on the spot. Her voice trembles with fragile emotion. The entire room falls silent. Kubrick knows instantly she is perfect. This casting twist rewrites the ending. The performance becomes the film's final emotional anchor. Not many viewers know that Christiane later becomes Kubrick's wife, linking this moment to a lifelong personal and artistic partnership born from a single quiet audition. Fact number 5. The film crew faces real explosion risks during battle setups. Paths of Glory uses practical explosions that detonate frighteningly close to actors. Kubrick wants shockwaves that feel real on camera, so he places charges only a few feet from the performers. The safety officer protests. Kubrick refuses to adjust. During one take, an explosion kicks dirt into the lens and knocks a grip off balance. Everyone freezes, waiting to see if anyone is injured. The actor nearest the blast later says he felt the ground rise under his boots. It is not acting, it is real fear baked into the shot. Kubrick then orders more exact spacing but keeps the intensity. The danger is never entirely removed. Those battlefield scenes hit so hard because the explosions you see are not distant, controlled effects. They erupt dangerously close to real human bodies. Fact number 4. The entire ending nearly gets cut after executive panic. Studio executives panic when they watch early cuts of the final scene. They believe audiences will reject the bleak emotional tone. They beg Kubrick to remove the girl singing and replace it with a triumphant military march. Kubrick refuses. He argues that the ending is the soul of the film. The executives threaten to shelve the movie unless changes are made. Douglas again steps in and says he supports Kubrick fully. Without Douglas, the studio might win the standoff. Eventually, the executives give up after private test screenings show that the ending leaves viewers shaken in a powerful way. That fragile song becomes the film's defiant heartbeat. It survives because Kubrick and Douglas fight for its existence until the last moment. Fact number 3. Kubrick fights for a single close-up that alters the film's message. Kubrick insists on one devastating close-up during the trial sequence. It captures a soldier's face crumbling under moral pressure. Executives claim the shot is too intense and will make audiences uncomfortable. That is precisely why Kubrick wants it. He refuses to remove it. He argues that the film's entire message hinges on capturing the horror of human sacrifice with absolute clarity. Without that close-up, the trial might feel procedural. With it, the scene feels like a moral collapse. The resistance from executives makes Kubrick even more determined. He shoots the close-up again with variations of lighting until it becomes an unforgettable image. That single shot shifts the film's tone from courtroom drama to indictment of power. It becomes one of the most important frames in the entire movie. Fact number 2. An argument between Douglas and a crew member nearly shuts down filming. The trenches create brutal stress and fatigue. During a high-pressure scene, Douglas snaps at a crew member who misfires a flare. The flare illuminates the entire set too early and ruins the shot. Douglas explodes in anger. The crew member fires back. Tension builds until other actors step in to separate them. It is not a staged confrontation. It is a real eruption driven by exhaustion, cold, and relentless schedule pressure. For a moment, Kubrick considers suspending work for the day. Instead, he gathers everyone and delivers a quiet speech about discipline and purpose. The mood shifts. The team returns to work. That clash becomes a reminder of how fragile morale is on a set built around mud danger and emotional exhaustion. The film survives because the production refuses to break apart. Fact number 1. The first cut of the film terrifies test viewers. When the first rough cut screens for a small audience, the reaction is overwhelming. People sit in silence. Some refuse to speak afterward. One viewer stands up and says the film feels too real. Executives fear that this reaction means the movie is too bleak to release. But Kubrick sees the response as proof that the film is working exactly as intended. It is not a traditional war picture. It is a moral wound carved into film. Kubrick tightens the pacing, polishes transitions, and sharpens emotional beats. When the final cut screens, the silence remains, but now viewers feel awe instead of shock. That first terrifying screening becomes a turning point, proving that the film's emotional power is not a flaw. It is the very reason it must exist. Bonus fact: the film secretly influences military training decades later. Decades after release, several military academies quietly begin using scenes from Paths of Glory in ethics discussions. The film is not officially endorsed. It is passed around by instructors who believe its portrayal of moral corruption and command failure creates honest debate. Its impact grows in whispered circles. Officers study the firing squad scenes to understand how leadership collapses under pressure. They also examine the trial sequence to explore ethical conflict. This unofficial use becomes one of the film's most surprising legacies, hiding far from public view. A movie once banned in France evolves into a tool for teaching integrity inside real military institutions. That quiet influence becomes the hidden victory paths of glory earns long after production ends.